there is this kind of sense that, like I mentioned, even going back to Comcast X1 platform, that yes, at some level there's a button or something you do, and the screen scales down a little bit, and something comes up on the side, and that's where things happen. Take it from there, Jennifer, and explain a little more about what users said or the numbers behind the sentiment of "don't interrupt my viewing experience." Right?
Right, exactly. When we're asking consumers what they think about interactive TV experiences, we certainly want to understand what their, you mentioned the word fear, what's their fear, what's their concern? Um, the number one thing really actually is the privacy and security of their personal data and also payment information. So we're talking about commercial experiences here. So now you're, you know, it, trusting perhaps a new entity with your payment information. Now, a lot of these subscription services already have your billing information. So, there are some services that you're already trusting there, but how is that payment going to work? So that's the number one concern. About half of all consumers saying, okay, I'm a little bit concerned about this. Pete made a great point about sometimes people will just want the choice to have no interactivity. 31% said, look, it just doesn't have any value to me personally. Now, ultimately, that value might be proven. Maybe they don't think that they'd like interactivity, but then there's some great experience that they see on the content they watch, ping pong or game shows or what have you, and then it makes sense to them. But some people who are just not going to be ready for that right out of the gate. But the number two thing was disruption to the program I'm watching. So 36% said that they are concerned about that. You've got to make it something that is additive, is complementary, and does not compete really for the attention. And so I think that we're going to learn a lot from the initial, engagements here of what works, what's too much. And different consumers are going to have different sensitivities to it. So the ability to have something where it's intuitive to find, but not necessarily see all the time, it seems like a really great approach from what we're seeing in
And
the data.
John, to you, would just go a little deeper into some of this interactivity stuff from your perspective, where people are really already there. And also, I want you to dive in a little bit on the brands and also take me through. We talked a little bit about Netflix. They're doing more and more live programming and sports like programming. You're going to have this Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight this week, I think. Is that right? Did I
Right.
get that right? Yeah. And that you had mentioned to me that that they've already have multiple brands signed up for this, and you feel this is going to be a really important element to Netflix's future. So help me understand a little more about what they're doing. You made a comment also about the Army of the Dead. So help us understand what Netflix is doing to see it through some of these interactive experiences.
Yeah, we firmly believe Netflix is going to, reignite, I think, a super competitive live streaming marketplace. And if you recall, I think it was 2 years ago, Ted Sarandos made this pretty stark comment that when you asked about sports on the platform, he said, "Hey, we're not anti-sports, we're pro-profit." And they went on to power things like Chris Rock comedy show, Dave Chappelle, the Love Is Blind finale, and the Tom Brady roast. And I would wager that Netflix probably said, wow, we're getting pretty interesting tune in to these experiences, and people are watching for an eye-popping amount of time. Why not go in and get into bigger sports plays? So now it's the WWE once a week and two NFL games on Christmas. I think today it was announced that they've sold out the ad inventory for those sponsors for the Christmas Day games. In addition, I think there are 5 different sponsors for the Mike Tyson fight. So I think there's a pretty interesting business unfolding at that company. I think I also read that they're now at 70 million ad-supported users on that particular tier. And live video opens up a multitude of possibilities for any content platform, right? You've got the opportunity to do customer acquisition and customer loyalty. Further that, they can now drive revenue by having brands, i.e., Samsung power live content on the platform. So it's a big win, I think, across the board, and I would expect to see similar thoughts happening across platforms like Apple, Disney. Hulu's already doing a couple of major music festivals in partnership with Live Nation. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that happening. And there's multiple ways to run a business model, right? It could be a marketing execution, but it also could be driving revenue through an ad opportunity. And Brands, we've been working with brands for over a decade. Their hot button right now is, help me connect in the moment with a consumer for a sustained period of time. And, live content is the key way to do that, but live content with interactivity is almost guarantee, or it's as close as you can get to success as possible. So I expect this to, again, ignite a lot more activity in space.